Hello, welcome to this tutorial video. I'm Andrew and I'm going to be doing an introduction for you on Angular. We're going to start with just setting up your environment, getting the tools you need installed and just creating an initial project. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, we need to install a few things. You can use Google to find them, or if you go to the end of the video, I've provided the links. So we're on the Visual Studio Code website. We're going to just get the download for this, and there's a couple of options obviously depending on which environment is correct for you. So choose Windows, Linux. I'm on a Mac, so I'll be downloading the Mac version of this. Next we need to install Node. There's two options available on the website, the LTS and the most stable edition. We're going to install the LTS. This is mostly because a lot of the hosting and cloud environments that we'll deploy to are also running the LTS edition, so it will just keep some consistency and make sure we're not using new features that aren't available where we're going to be deploying to. Personally, I prefer to use Homebrew. On their website they provide you a command you can run to install this. Once installed, we can then run brew install node at 10 to set the version to 10. This will install, and once installed you will then be given a command to just run. This will set the correct version of Node when you use terminal in the future. We can also execute that right now by just running source/.bash profile, and that will execute the profile. And we can just confirm that by just running node --version and also npm --version. Okay, so over to VS Code. We're just going to add a couple of extensions that I always put in. The first of these is called getlens. This is useful for just knowing who's made changes to the code. We might not be working in a team right now, but if we were, it helps us look to say who made the change here. I could go ask them a bit about it, and simple things like that for our versioning. The other is editor config, and this here will allow us to do some basic formatting for our files. So correct line endings, make sure we're using spaces versus tabs, and you can select if you have a preference between 2 spaces, 4 spaces, and so forth. When working with VS Code, there are a number of shortcut keys that will help you with duplicating lines and just changing your code more efficiently. So get familiar with those. They're different for each environment, whether you're on Windows, a Mac, Linux. At the end of this video, I've added the links so you can get those cheat sheets off the internet. So let's get started with our project. First we need a directory. I'm going to call mine Angular tutorial. This will get put up onto the internet in a future video, so you can actually download the code and take a look at it yourself. But for this video, we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to get the project up and running. So we can set up our project using Node. We use the command npm init. This will ask a few questions. Largely, we will use the defaults for this. If you want to put some description in, we can add a description. It will ask us for some keywords. We can pop some keywords in. And obviously our name. And then for license, I'm just going to choose the MIT license because I'm going to be sharing this code to everybody. And the MIT is a nice open license to let people play around. npm stands for Node Package Manager. Now that we have set up our project, we can actually use that package manager to install some dependencies. The only one we're going to do right now is called serve. So we just type npm I serve and that will install that library for us. We can swap back to VS Code now and open the project. You should see an open folder option. You pick the folder you want to open and this will open your project. Well, let's just take a quick look and see what that npm init created for us. You can see in here the settings that we configured, the description, the author, and so forth. You can also see the library we installed, serve. Now, there is a caret at the start of that version number that is saying greater than. We want to fix that to a specific version number, so we'll remove the caret. This works in conjunction with the package lock file then. So the package lock will be looking at sub-dependencies and fixing those, and the master dependency is in the package JSON there. So best practice is, let's fix our versions, be in control of those, and when we want to upgrade them, we can decide to do so. Earlier in the video, we installed the editor config plugin for VS Code. So let's just set that up now. So we add a file called .editor_config, and inside this, we just want to do something simple. So for all files, we want to ensure that we have the correct line feed on the end. So end of line, line feed. There are a few other options as well, so let's make sure we've got a final new line on our files. Let's set the indent size to be 4 and just make sure as well that we're using spaces and not tabs. So just a couple of simple things. Actually, if we go back to the package.json, we can now reformat this, and when we hit reformat, the spaces, you can see, have been applied to this file as well. So up until now we've been doing lots of setup. We're now ready to actually put some code in place. So let's create a folder, we'll call it source, and we're going to create our initial page. So we're going to want to have an index.html file. Let's just put a little bit of simple HTML in here. We're not going to talk about the semantics of HTML on this video, but we'll just create a very basic page, drop a title on there, and some simple body content, just a header and a quick paragraph will do. And not forgetting, we need to tell the browser how to render this, so we'll set the doc type to HTML5, which is just doc type HTML. So let's check that works. First of all, we need to update the package.json. We need to add a script for start, and we're going to be using our serve library to do this. We set a port number, I'll use 4200, and the source folder we want to display. Now on the command line, we just simply type npm start. That will run our script, and we can see there it is now serving up on localhost 4200. So we can go to our browser and take a look, and on 4200 we can now see our web page. So now we have a web page. Let's add a little bit of JavaScript to this. We're just going to create an example.js file. We'll update the HTML so that it references that file. And then the last thing we're going to do is just add an alert onto the JavaScript file so that we can check everything's tied together. And if we refresh our browser, we can see the alert pops up every time we hit refresh. Thank you for watching. If you do have any questions, suggestions, comments, leave a message below. Also, please do subscribe to the channel. We will be doing more videos. There's going to be some stuff on ES6, ES7, ES8, how TypeScript then can be used to access those features today. And also then we'll be moving into Angular itself and looking at how that framework can build complex, rich web applications for modern projects that people are working on today, and the best practices associated to doing that.